Hurricane season begins tomorrow, and experts predict a less than active season. Premier Alden McLaughlin says citizens still need to be on guard. He says Cayman knows all too well that no two hurricanes are alike and many are unpredictable. Mr. McLaughlin says, fortunately, we have learned lessons from the storms that either struck us or our neighbors. The main message, though, is to be prepared. And with that, we're going to turn to some hurricane preparedness tips here. And who better to address this than Hazard Management Cayman Islands Director Danielle Coleman, along with National Weather Service Director John Tibbetts. Let's start with Mr. Tibbetts. First of all, thank you both for being here. It's
thank you.
A very important, it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow. It's the start of hurricane season.
Yep.
John, let me just start with you. What do you make of these predictions that we're seeing, and what do you personally think this hurricane season will be like?
Well, first of all, if you look back at the predictions in 2018 in comparison to what we ended up getting in 2018, predictions were real good. I mean, there was like one difference with each one of the categories. So that's a good prediction. Besides, the predictions are there for guidance more than anything else. So it's not as if we're going to drop the hurricane plan if
you're not just throwing it out the window because of
it's staying put very soon.
We still have to go storm by storm as we go through the year. Though it's nice to have these big, powerful storms that are way out in the Atlantic Ocean, don't bother anybody, just burns up the energy for us. So that's good.
And so, you know, Colorado State University puts out predictions. Several other organizations do as well. What are those predictions saying? We're hearing average, but what does that mean exactly?
Well, the prediction that came out from Colorado State says slightly below average. The prediction that comes out from NOAA says an average season. So they are, generally speaking, usually very close to each other. It usually means around 15 named storms.
Okay.
Probably about 7 or 8, probably about seven hurricanes and about 2 major hurricanes.
And Danielle, from HCMI's point of view, you know, how are you addressing things as we enter June and the hurricane season?
We tend to take a different look this year. We're focusing more on the aftermath. So we've always focused on the preparedness, what we're doing to get ready, and that's really critical, obviously. But also we need to think about what happens afterwards from a business and also a family perspective, and from hazard management, of course, itself. So what would you, as a public, what do you do afterwards? What happens when the all clear's happened and you've got to get your lives back in gear, and you might not have a vehicle, you might not have a school for the kids to go to. There's so many things that you need to consider that's not just the average preparedness that we all have. Get your hurricane kits, obviously, but the actual aftermath is something we're really asking the public to consider this year.
So what does that mean in terms of, like, what are you doing at your office to get people ready for that? Okay,
so we've just done a 2-day exercise last week with all the National Emergency Operations Centre and activated that. And again, that exercise was focused on the all clear and after the recovery phase. We have a lot of things in place, response readiness, obviously, getting all our equipment up, getting all our sat phones tested, and getting the drills, regular drills for our National Emergency Operations Centre. We're also meeting with all the other emergency support teams. We have 17 of those under the structure, and we did shelter management training last week. So there's a lot going on in the background, hazard management, to make sure we're all ready for the actual season ahead. All
right, and we got to wrap up pretty quickly here, but I need to ask you this last question. You know, last year we talked so much with HCMI and with OFREG about a way to communicate with people when there's an emergency, right? And we talked about unrolling certain notifications on radio, you know, potentially on television. We did tests to get, you know, notifications straight to people's phones. Where are we in the process of unrolling some of these things so that everybody can know what's happening?
I'm glad. It's been a very busy week with that in itself. We actually have the testing rolling out in June and July of all the radio stations, so that will be the drill. But again, we're looking into apps, and we're looking at various different things that we hope to get moving in the next couple of months for actually implementing that. So obviously the big Amber Alert system will be a bit further down the line. It takes a lot of work and a lot of research to make sure we're getting the right ones. But we meet regularly with OFREG, we're meeting regularly with DPSC, so that there should be some developments in the next few months that people will be very excited about.
Danielle, John, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.